Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Baruch Hashem. I'm feeling much better today. Share Baruch ended last night. Especially today's the last day of Share Baruch, but not for me. Baruch Hashem, almost better. And ready to start the summer months. Baruch Hashem. Today's shiur, Perek Beis of Metzias, the Yuli Nishmas, Aaron Nachum, Simcha Cohen. Yeshua Mordechai B'Shem, Bracha Saba Shmolim, B'Yam Moshe B'Yosef, B'Yam Neshon Zahav Aliyah, and Refuah Shlema for Yisrael B'Rachaliyah, Racha Bas Pesach Zalda, Racha Aliyana B'Tziar Bracha, Aaron Yitzchak B'Risha, Chai B'Tavabela, Refuah Shlema B'Sov Shai Chal Yisrael. And shout out to our good friends at the Imperial Advisory Group for being the sponsors of the month. If you or your company need help with their financials and need help from a CFO, they have 30 years of experience. Please reach out to them at imperialgrp.com. Here we go. Bava Metzia, Perek Beis, Mishnah Aleph. Elu, famous Perek, famous Mishnayos. Elu Metzia Shalom, Elu Chayil Lahachris. We're talking about found objects here. So which found objects are the finders to keep, and which found objects must he announce and try to return to the owner? These are the found objects that a finder must keep. Matzah peres mifuzarim. If he found scattered produce, malos mifuzaros, or scattered coins which have no siman, if you can identify them, then they have to be returned. If they're not, then you don't. Krichos b'reshus harabim. Or if you found small bundles of grain stalks in a public place, where they can be kicked or stepped on by people passing by, and they lose any siman they may have. V'yigule devela, round cakes with pressed figs. Kikaros shalnachtim, or loaves of bread from a baker. Machrozes shaldakim, or strings of fish. V'chatichos shabas, or slices of meat. Begizet sever habalas mimidinasan, or fleeces of raw wool that come from the province with from the local from the provinces without having been processed. And Yitzie pished on ordinary bundles of flax fibers, or the shonos shel argamam, or tongues of purple wool. All these things are his to keep because they have no siman, and their owner gives up hope of getting them back. This is according to Rabbi Meir's opinion. According to Rabbi Meir, even if there's something irregular about these objects that might serve as a siman, if the irregularity could have occurred on its own, as in the following case, as we're going to see soon, so the owner may not have known about it, it's not considered a siman, and the finder may keep the objects. So Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. He says, "Kosh yesh bo shinoi chayv lahakos." Anything that has some irregularity in it, and the finder must announce it in public and return it to its owner, even if the irregularity may have occurred on its own and not through the owner. Ketzad, for example, matzah eagle. If you found a round cake of pressed figs with a piece of pottery in the kikar b'sochamos, or a loaf of bread from a baker with coins in it, he must announce it's fine and try to return it to the owner. Even though it's a long shot, he still has to give it. He still has to try. Rishon ben Elazar says, "Kol kli an puria ein chayav lahachris." Any new and unused vessels, Rishon ben Elazar says that any new and unused vessels which the eye of the owner has not yet grown accustomed to, which he can therefore not recognize, the finder is not obligated to announce them because they are his to keep, even the place where there are Tamidi Chachamim. Interesting, because if you have do kila both for Pesach and then you lose them, so you don't have to return them, according to the Mishnah. Mishnah Beis, these are the found objects that a finder is obligated to announce and return. Matzah peres b'kli, or produce in it, or utensil as is. That can mean that it's empty. Most keys or keys kaboshu, or you found a purse with money in it, um, or a purse that was empty. Sibure payers or piles of produce, in which case the location of the pile of fruits or their number is considered to be a siman. Sibure malish shosha matbaos ze al gagze, or piles of money, meaning like three or more coins piled one on top of the other, in which case the location of the coins or their number is considered a siman. Krikos versus yachid, or small bundles of grain stalks that are in a private area where they are not kicked by people passing by and do not lose their siman. The kikaros about bias or homemade loaves of bread. The gizet seven halakukos base uman, or fleeces of produce up, sorry, or fleeces of processed wool taken from a craftsman's shop, where each customer's fleece is tied with a unique knot that serves as a siman. Kada yaim, kada shemen, or jugs of wine or jugs of oil, which home manufactured in standard sizes are sealed shut by their owners and marked for identification. All these items that a finder is obligated to announce and return because they have a siman and their owner does not give a public getting them back. So if you have a siman on the item, they have to return it to you. If you don't have a siman on it, then you don't have to. All according to the Mishnah. Mishnah Gimel Matzah Achar Hagaf Achar Hagader goes those Mikusharim. If someone found young pigeons tied together by the wings and standing behind a wooden fence or a stone wall, or b'shvilin shibisados, or in the paths through the fields where people may not go, where many people do not, where not many people go. He should not touch them because it is possible that the owner put them there for safekeeping and will soon return for them. Since they have no siman, if he takes them, then the owner will surely not be able to get them back. Therefore, it's better to leave them where they are. If you found the utensil, which typically has a siman in a garbage dump, the garbage heap. So the lach is if the utensil is covered in the heap and it's well protected, you shouldn't touch it there, even if it's siman, because the owner probably left it there for protection and will return to get it. In Magula, no tomachis. However, if it was uncovered and not protected, he must take it and announce what he found, because it truly was not placed there for protection, but must have been lost. Matzah begal yashin. If one found items buried in a pile of stones from an old wall that collapsed, or in the hole of an old wall that is still standing, and the item shows sign of age, and they are his to keep, even if they have a siman. He doesn't have to return them to the current owner of the wall. Matzah because chadash. If however he found them in a hole in a new wall and stands next to a street, and then the lacha is mechetzia. If they were found in the outer half of the wall, on the side closer to the street, then they are his to keep. Because we may assume that someone traveling the street put them in the hole, forgot where he put them, and then gave up hope of getting them back. If they were found in the inner half of the wall, they belong to the owner of the house, because we assume that he or the ancestor from whom he inherited the house is the one who left them there. If the owner would regularly rent this property to others, and the last renter was not a Jew, even if items are found inside the house itself, they are the finders to keep, because he may assume that they were left there by the last renter who was not a Jew. Like an Airbnb, if you find items in an Airbnb, do you have to return them? This is what the Mishnah is talking about. Mishnah Dalit. Matzah b'chanus. Someone found money or any other item that has no siman in the store. It is his to keep, because the store is open to the public, and anyone who lost something there, he certainly give a public getting it back, since it has no siman. Ben hateva. If he found it between the case, the showcase, and the storekeeper, or it must have fallen from the storekeeper, then it belongs to the storekeeper. If nei shulchani, hare elu shelo. Similarly, if someone found coins in front of a money changer, and we in front of the table at which he sits at, they are the farthest to keep because it could be assumed that they fell from someone who came to exchange money. And since coins have no siman, the person who dropped them gave a pope getting them back. Ben Akise with Shulchani, Hare Elil Shulchani. If, however, he found coins between the stool upon which the money changer changer's table was placed and the money changer, and he found the coins behind the table at which the money changer sits. They belong to the money changer because they must have fallen from him and not from a customer. Someone buys produce from his friend, and their friend is a merchant who buys produce from different farms and then sells it. Oh, it's just peros, or if his friend sent him produce as a gift. And he found coins in the produce. They belong to him because there is no way of knowing from which farmer the merchant got this bundle of produce. Since the coins have no simon, the owners of the coins suddenly give up hope of getting them back and the farmer may keep them. However, if the coins were tied in a bundle, in which case they have a simon and can be identified by the owner, not to machris, the finder must take them and announce his find and return them to the owner. Okay, Mishnah, hey, here we go. The garment, quote unquote, the garment too was included in the rule of all these lost objects of your brother, which we're talking about a pasuk in uh, probably Shoftim or Kiseitza. You shall not see your brother's ox or sheep wandering and turn away from them. You must return them to your brother. So shall you do for his donkey, so shall you do for his garment, and so shall you do for any lost object of your brother which will be lost from him. You will find it. You may not turn away. That's the pasuk. Those are psukim in Devarim Chaf Beis. I think that's Shoftim. Might be Kiseitzi. So the garment over here is included in the lost objects of your brother. Lama says, why was it singled out in the pasuk? To compare all lost objects to garments. Lama lacha masin is to tell you that just as the garment is unique, sheyesh ba simanim yesh la tovim, in that it has simanim and it has owners who will claim it as their own, which is why a person who finds it is required to announce his find and return it to its owner, if he can identify its siman. So too, with any lost article that has simanim and has owners who claim it as their own, the person who finds it is required to announce his find and return it to its owner if he can identify its siman. Mishnah Vav. Until when must the person who found the lost object announce that he found it? Until the neighbors who live in the area where the item was found know about it. The Rebbe Meir, this is according to Rebbe. Rebbe says, Shlosh Regalim. You must announce it in your shalim during each of the Shlosh Regalim, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, time of Pesach, and most Jews are in Yerushalayim. Achar Haregel Acharon Shiur. And then he must wait in Yerushalayim after the final Chag, which is the third out of 3 regalim, another 7 days. Shlosha Yachzer Shlosha Yachriz Hayom Echad. To give someone who heard the last announcement enough time to travel home for 3 days, check his belongings or missing items, travel back to Shalim for another 3 days, and announce what he lost with the simon for 1 day, so he can get it back from the one who found it. It's a pretty wild thing. Mr. Zain. Amar's Hafeda Lo Amar Simana. If he, the person who claims he lost it, said what the lost object was, we did not say what simanim are. Lo Yitin Lo, the father should not give it to him. Ramai, and if the claimant is known to be a dishonest person, even if you say what it's simanim are, Lo Yitin Lo, the father should not give it to him because we suspect he may have had knowledge of his neighbor's idol and is now using that information dishonestly. Shanamar, Derosh Achicha Oso, as the Pasuk says, and it shall be with you until your brother comes looking for it, and you shall return it to him. The Pasuk is meant to explain, do not return the idol until you look into the nature of your brother to see whether he is a dishonest person or not. If he's an honest person and provides it to simanim, return it to him. If he's dishonest, even if he provides it to simanim, do not return it to him. Going on. Any found item that works and eats, being like an ox or a donkey whose work is worth the cost of its care, you shall work to earn its keep and eat from what it produces. However, a found item that does not work but eats, for example, a rooster or a calf, which cannot earn their keep, Yimacher, they should be sold, and the money received in payment should be returned to the owner when he comes to claim the item. Shnamar, as the Pasuk says, and you shall return it to him, which means, see how you can best return it to him without causing him a loss. So what's going to be with money if you find money? Very Tarfid says that the finder may use it for his own needs and then give his own money to the owner when he comes to claim what he lost. Therefore, if the money was lost before he could return it, even if it was lost accidentally, the finder is responsible for it. He must pay the owner from his own money. If Akiva says he may not use the money for his own needs, therefore, if it was lost accidentally, he is not responsible for it. Mr. Ches, Matzah Svarim, if you found scrolls, like Sefer Kodesh, written on parchment, you should read through them once every 30 days to air them out. And if he does not know how to read, you should roll them end to end once every 30 days. So, however, he may not study in them any text he is learning for the first time, to keep the scroll open longer than necessary, which might lead to its damage. And even if he is just reading through it, another person may not scroll in his direction and cause it to tear. If he found the garment, he must take it out once every 30 days. And spread it out over a bed or a table for its benefit, meaning to let the air get to all parts of the garment to prevent it from decaying and becoming moth-eaten. But he may not do so for his own honor to decorate his home. Clay castles which need to be stored in the ground to protect them from being stolen, which may therefore become corrosive. He may use them occasionally for their needs, as often as necessary to help to keep them from being ruined. But not to the extent that he wears them down. However, if you found gold utensils or glass utensils which do not corrode in the ground, and which are in the case of glass breakable, you should not touch them once they are stored in the ground until Eliyahu comes and reveals the identity of the owner. Matzah If he found a sack, a large container, or any other object that is not his practice to pick up, because it's beneath his dignity to be seen carrying such an item, he does not have to pick it up and return it to its owner. Mishnah Tess. What's considered lost in the case of an animal? If he found a donkey or a cow grazing by the side of the road, that is not considered. This is not considered to be a lost animal, and he does not have to take it or return it because the owner probably left it there to graze. Chamor v'kelav hafuchim para ratza ben hakramim. If, however, he found a donkey with its gear out of place, or a cow running through the vineyards, where its feet will get bruised by the vines, this is a simon that is a lost animal, and the finder must return it to the owner since it is clear that the owner does not know where it is. Hachzira uvarcha. If someone returned the lost animal to its owner, it ran away again, and returned it, and then ran away not the second time, and then it ran away again, going back and forth, back and forth. Even this happened 4 or 5 times, he is mechuyev to return it again. Shnamar hashet hashiven. The pasuk says you must surely return them to your brother. The teaching that there's no limit to the times the father must return a lost object to its owner. If the finder stopped doing his object to its owner, the finder may not say to the owner, rather the owner must give him his wage, like a worker who stopped working, who stopped doing a difficult job in order to perform an easier job, such as returning a lost item. If there was a court of 3 claims that instead of returning the item and earning less, he is willing to return the item to the owner only if the owner compensates him for his entire loss. If he then returns the item to the owner, he may demand the full amount from the owner. In ain't sham based in mi yifnash shalom kodem. So if on the other hand there is no court of 3 available, before whom she made this declaration, shalom kodem. In such a case, since there's no way for him to collect full compensation, his own financial concerns come before those of others, and he need not take off from his job to return the lost item. Mishnah Yud, Matzah berefes ein l'chayib. If he found the animal in an unlocked barn, he is not chayav to take it and return it to its owner, even though it's not properly guarded, because he can assume that the owner knows that it's there and will come back for it himself. Versus harav, if, however, he found it wandering in the public roads, he is chayav to take it back and return it to its owner. If the animal or any other item was in a cemetery, then a kohen who is also to become tameh from a corpse or a grave may not enter the cemetery and become tameh to take it to return to the owner. If the kohen's father told him become tameh and return the item, go to the cemetery and get the lost item. Father told him, do not return the item. Well, Yishmael, though, he should not listen to his father because the son may not violate a halacha of the Torah in order to listen to his father. Part okay, since we had technical stood the animal up, and then he loaded it back onto the animal, but it sat down again under its load. He unloaded it the second time, stood the animal up, and then again loaded it back onto the animal. I feel if this happened 4 or 5 times, he is chayav to unload it and load it again. Shnema ozu tazo, because the pasuk says, "You must surely help," which teaches that the animal that one is out the one is required to do so over and over again as many times as necessary. Um, 1 second. Okay, and Mishnah. Oh, it's still a Mishnah. Yud. However, Yashavlev Amar, if the owner of the animal that was collapsed under its load walked away from the animal, sat himself down and said to a passerby, since there's a mitzvah upon you to unload my animals, you want to unload it on your own while I sit here and watch. Potter, the passerby is exempt from unloading the animal. Shneimar imo, because the pasuk says you must surely help with him, which implies that you are chayav to help along with him. If he refuses to do anything, you are not chayav to do it on your own. If, however, the owner was an elderly or sickly man who was unable to help, the passerby is obligated to unload or load the animal on his own. Metzia min Torah lifrok. It's a shiur to help unload an animal that has collapsed under its burden without being paid to do so. However, but it's not a mitzvah to help load an animal. As long as it's come off without being paid to do so. You have to help take it off to unload, not to load it up. Rabbi Shimon says, liton. Rabbi Shimon says that it's a shiur d'oraisa even to help load an animal without being paid. Rabbi Yossi Glili says, Imhaya Allah Yoser Yaser al Masal Ein Zakiklo. If the animal was loaded with more than it could bear, and it collapsed under its load, then the passerby is not chayav to unload it. Shneimar takas Masal, as the pasuk says in Mishpatim, if you see the donkey sitting under its load, which implies that the chiyuv to help unload applies only to a load that can be called its load, masoy then that is a load that is normally able to stand with. And then finally, Mishnah Yud Aleph, Avidasa, Avidas Aviv, Avidasa Kedeves. The son finds his own lost item and his father's lost item, and is able to take only one of them. Saving his own lost item takes precedence over saving his father's. Avidasa, Avidas Rabbo, Shalom Kedeves. Likewise, if he finds his own lost item and his teacher's lost item, and he's able to take only one of them, saving his own lost item takes precedence over saving his teacher's, where it's not possible to do both. The person's own needs come before those of others. If he finds his father's lost item or his teacher's lost item, he's able to take only one of them, saving his teacher's lost item takes precedence over the savings his father's. Because his father brought him only into this world. Whereas his teacher who taught him wisdom brings him to the world to come. However, his father is also a Torah scholar, and he taught him some Torah wisdom as well, saving his father's iron takes precedence over his rebbe's. Haya Aviv the Rabban Nosim Masoy. If his father and his Rebbe were both carrying packages and both need help unloading them, Naniach Esharabba Lachakach Naniach Esharabi. He first unloads his teacher's package and then unloads his father's. Haya Aviv the Rabba the base of Shri Shavi. If his father and his Rebbe were both in captivity, and both need to be ransomed, Poda as Rabba Akaka Poda as Aviv. He first ransoms his teachers, and then ransoms his father, because his father brought him only into this world, and his Rebbe brought him into is being basically into the world to the Olam Haba. Aviv Chacham Poda as Aviv. But if his father too is a Talmid Chacham, then he first ransoms his father, and then he ransoms his Rebbe afterwards. Thank you for joining us. Tomorrow we continue with Perek Gimel. Have a wonderful day.